everybody senses that there is going to be more terrorism, and that's what Bush wants. The internationalists got to have terrorism because it's the only way you get the American people to beg for martial law and to give up their rights. So we know more terrorism's coming. I'm a retired police officer, and we talk to police and soldiers all the time, and they all know this. There will be more terrorism, and of course then we give up our rights and we're going to be under martial law. So we need to, these people feel they got an urgency to get their places built. And before the terrorism starts again and people start demanding that we're going to have roadblocks all across America, and we'll be having to check papers to see if you're allowed to go or who you are and so forth. They want to get up here, you know.
Is this state-sponsored terrorism?
State-sponsored terrorism, just like the others were, just like the World Trade Center bombing 1 and 2. You know, your listeners probably, and the people you know this, but the average American has no idea how much evidence there is, in fact, to back up the statements that Oklahoma City, the first World Trade Center bombing, the second World Trade Center bombing, were all orchestrated, and our government knew about it. And in some cases, like the first World Trade Center, they furnished the explosives and the training for these guys. And so it's all orchestrated, and it's going to be more terrorism because it's the easiest way to get the American people to not just beg for martial law, but demand it of their officials. When they're scared enough, they'll give up everything to be made safe.
Are we looking at the Nazization of the nation?
That's what we are. Yeah, it's not a socialist system as much as a fascist system that's being carried through by our Republican socialists and democratic socialists, or fascists if you want to say. But it is a fascist system. 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 It is a fascist system.
Well, I believe that the Bush administration had an integral role in planning 9/11 for the purpose of giving themselves the terrorist tool to intimidate the entire country into supporting a war against Iraq, to intimidate the Congress into handing over powers to George Bush. They used it like a fine tool to get what they wanted. It was, it was an amazing thing that they've pulled off, and they've managed to, they're the terrorists. The Bush administration are the international terrorists of the world.
George Bush wants to dominate the world. Adolf Hitler wanted to dominate the world. George Bush, though, inherited a very powerful country, and Adolf Hitler built one.
Bush only has one concentration camp, in Guantanamo Bay. Hitler, I think, had about 42, mostly in Poland. there are an awful lot of comparison of persecution. The attack on Czechoslovakia and other countries that Hitler took over as a perhaps not preemptory strike, but at least in the name of expanding the Third Reich, which is exactly what Bush is trying to do here. The arrogance of this Bush and Hitler is one of the closest comparisons I can possibly make. I was born in Germany. I went through the Nazi period until 14 days before the war broke out. And there are things going on in this country which make me feel just as uncomfortable as I did then.
What I see is that when Hitler, and I lived through that, Hitler was marching in country after country all over Europe, and we're beginning to do that the earth over. And so I think there's a great similarity there. Plus, I think everything that Hitler did was legal in his country, and I think that Bush is really tearing the Constitution apart.
Hey Jess, I want to blow some bubbles.
They're celebrating here in San Francisco. Behind me, you'll see the people cheering. There's not a lot to cheer about because war is on the way, regardless of what they say or what we do. This is intentional. This war was planned by Bush and the boys from the Brotherhood of Death. Blair, Bush, they're guilty of sin, guilty of murder in the first degree.
Bush is creating a police state. If you see what it's doing with Operation Tibbs, Homeland Security.
The way that Bush right now is using the terror attacks to scare people, how the September 11th attacks were similar to the Reichstag fire. The Reichstag fire was used by Hitler to scare people and to scare the political opposition, and Bush basically used 9/11 in the same manner.
These people here are concerned about their civil rights, about their liberties being invaded, not by Saddam Hussein, but by Osama bin Bush.
I do believe absolutely that agents of this government were behind the September 11th attacks, and that they planned the attacks many years in advance, and they used the attacks as pretext for going into war in Afghanistan and leading people into the war in Iraq right now and taking civil liberties away from the American citizens.
I'm Carol Brouillet. I'm a hyperactivist. I'm with Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. I'm also a soccer mom and a scout leader. And after 9/11, I did some research and I got very disturbed by the evidence that I saw that led me to believe that it was a special operation conducted by the CIA and the Bush administration. And so we led a delegation of human rights and peace groups to our senators demanding a congressional inquiry of 9/11. And shortly thereafter, Bush and Cheney asked Daschle to limit the investigations. They didn't look at all the questions that we raised, which looked at the links between the Bushes and the Bin Laden and the Carlyle groups, the oil interest in Central Asia, and the military stand down of the planes.
The case here, you have the attack on these two buildings, which had no military significance for purposes of making a coup from the outside. The attack on the Pentagon had no military significance except for the purpose of making a coup from the inside. If you look at the operation, the way it was run, the operation was a fairly sophisticated operation, which probably required a year to a year and a half planning to execute, with no purpose except to terrify the U.S. population and to have an effect upon the world at large. It's an inside job.
Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it.
It's an inside job.
It is time for us all to dig deeper, because this could be an inside job.
Pelted by debris when the North Tower collapsed, 7 burned until late afternoon, allowing occupants to evacuate to safety.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it.
It's an inside job.
smartest thing to do is pull it.
It's an inside job.
It's an inside job.
8 hours after the first plane crash, a third building at the World Trade Center collapses. This one, the number 7 World Trade Center building.
This is a look at the flying debris from the number 7 tower. You're going to see that almost coming down the street toward the camera. Number 7 tower at the World Trade Center.
The CIA would have been in there normally, but they had, of course, abandoned the building when the event of catastrophe occurred. The CIA would have been in there normally, but they had, of course, abandoned the building.
Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it.
What you're about to see is a number of buildings that have been brought down by explosives that were strategically placed within the structures so that they would come in and down on themselves. This is called implosions.
And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Demolition teams talk about it as pulling a building.
The taping that we were doing, there was an explosion. It was way up where the fire was, and the whole building at that point bellied out in flames, and everybody ran.
We made it outside. We made it about a block. We made it at least 2 blocks, and we started running, floor by floor, instead of popping out.
It was if they had detonated.
Yeah,
detonated. If they were planned to take down a building. Boom, 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 boom.
All the way down. I was watching it and running. Just ran up West Street. And then you just sort of this cloud of shit chasing you down.
Couldn't outrun it.
West Street. I couldn't outrun it. So what'd you do? I jumped behind a battalion car. I hid under the car. I was just waiting to die.
Thousands of innocent people, secretaries, office workers, hard-working young men and women who were simply out to build a better world, were sacrificed on the altar of the New World Order on September 11th, 2001.
The building was designed to have a fully loaded 707 crash into it. That was the largest plane at the time. I believe that the building probably could sustain multiple impacts of jetliners because this structure is like the mosquito netting on your screen door, this intense grid, and the jet plane is just a pencil puncturing that screen netting. It really does nothing to the screen netting.
You're not supposed to question authority in a Orwellian police state. You're supposed to blindly believe what the FBI and the CIA and the State Department and the President tell you is the truth, and nothing else.
Colonel North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster?
Mr. Chairman. I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was, but I wanted to get his
May I most
confirmation.
respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, I'm certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
And tragically, the only member who got close was Jack Brooks, and he was stopped by the chairman. But the truth of the matter is that, yes, you do have those standby provisions, and the plans are there, and the statutory emergency plans are there, whereby you could
in the name of stopping terrorism, apprehend, invoke the military, and arrest Americans and hold them in detention camps.
I'm concerned about the Constitution of the United States of America, that it's being filtered and changed in ways the American public, the citizens of this beautiful country, don't even know.
You're supposed to be too damn dumb and too dense to figure the scam out. You're supposed to buy whatever the White House spin doctors sell you and whatever the managed media tells you.
The CIA would have been in there normally, but they had, of course, abandoned the building.
Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it.
The CIA would have been in there normally, but they had, of course, abandoned the building.
It's an inside job. It's an inside job.
Obviously, 911 was an inside job. Whoever controlled the electronic security system of the World Trade Center complex had both the power and the opportunity to either prevent or carry out the implosions of the Twin Towers and Building Number 7.
We will discover everything that we possibly can that occurred, and we're going to leave no stone unturned.
Kissinger said that could include a probe of possible involvement by Saudi Arabia, a nation Mr. Bush has praised as a strong ally in the war on terror.
We will follow the facts where they lead.
Were Arabs involved? As a matter of fact, the Kuwait American Company, which underwrote Securicom, the outfit which supplied electronic security for the World Trade Center complex, had ironclad links to the Bush family. We discovered that Marvin P. Bush, the president's youngest brother, was a key member of the board of directors of Securicom between 1994 and the millennium. Was this an inside job? Securicom changed its name in the year 2000 to Stratesec. The key man at Stratesec, President Bush's cousin, Wirt Walker III, the CEO of Kuwait American. Stratesec did the electronic security job on the Twin Towers and Building 7 on 9/11. Was this an inside job?
Larry Silverstein became landlord on July 24th, less than 2 months before the attack. He then had control of the maintenance and security departments, and he began to replace security personnel. After the towers disintegrated, Silverstein demanded insurance companies pay him twice what the policy stated on the grounds that each tower was a separate attack.
Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it.
Tom Kennedy, rescue worker with the National Urban Search and Rescue. It's part of FEMA.
To be honest with you, we arrived on late Monday night and went into action on Tuesday morning. And not until today did we get a full opportunity to work the entire site other than the spot at Church and Day to which we were deployed. But to be honest with you, we arrived on late Monday night and went into action on Tuesday morning. But to be honest with you, we arrived on late Monday night and went into action on Tuesday morning.
The chief of safety of the fire department of New York City told me he received word of the possibility of a secondary device, that is another bomb going off. He tried to get his men out as quickly as he could, but he said that there was another explosion which took place. And according to his theory, he thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building.
45 minutes into the taping that we were doing, there was an explosion. It was way up where the fire was, and the whole building at that point bellied out in flames, and everybody ran.
I was about 5 blocks away when I heard explosions, 3 thuds, and turned around to see the building we just got out of, antenna tip over and fall in on itself.
And then all of a sudden it started like it sounded like gunfire, you know, bang, 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 and then all of a sudden 3 big explosions.
When you figure this thing out, you'll realize that the men who committed this atrocity in New York on September 11th, 2001, mass murdered more people than the combined killings of every serial killer in the 228-year history of the United States. That means that they mass murdered more people than John Wayne Gacy, Charles Miles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, the son of Sam, the Midnight Stalker, and Jack the Ripper combined.
Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better. Then when I felt like I really offered society something.
These men have the minds of monsters.
I represent Ellen Mariani, wife of Louis Neal Mariani, who died when United Airlines Flight 175 was flown into the South Tower of the World Trade Center on 9/11/2001, the day that will forever change history in the United States. I have filed an amended complaint, and I can explain that later, but I filed that in the United States District Court from the Eastern District of Pennsylvania on November 26, 2003, in the case of Mariani versus Bush, alleging President Bush and officials, including but not limited to Cheney, Ashcroft, Rumsfeld, Feinberg, and Senior Bush, that they had knowledge and warnings of 9/11 and failed to warn or take steps to prevent what occurred on 9/11. That since then they have been covering up the truth of 9/11, and therefore they have violated the laws of the United States of America, and we are suing them under the Civil RICO statutes, which were originally brought about to go after mobs in this country. Well, we have a mob, and it's occupying the White House.
I met an ex-CIA agent right after the attack on the World Trade Center, and he told me that he received information in March of 2001 regarding the exact time and place of the attack. So, I feel that it was a setup. 9/11 is the greatest lie ever sold.
This proves an awful lot. It proves that they've obviously planned it with thought and great detail.
Some absurd insinuation.
Behind that tower on the other side of the hill lies the Hollywood Bowl. They're having a concert there tonight. Hundreds of thousands of people come here to Tinseltown from all over the world, expecting to be entertained. They come to enjoy life here, certainly not to die here. Out there lies the heart of the city and the freeways, tangled in a web of traffic, snarled in gridlock, unable to move. It's quite fitting that we begin here in Hollywood. oligarchy that controls this country knew long ago that they'd have to gain control over the media, the motion picture industry, if they were going to change America and take over the world. From their studios, they can take you up there to the moon.
One small step for man, one giant leap for... No, I guess you want to do it again. Okay.
Are back in time to the age of the dinosaurs. Across the street is Ripley's Believe It or Not. Here in Hollywood, they can get you to believe that things that are totally false are absolutely true. They control what goes into motion pictures. And there's nothing that you see in a motion picture that isn't planned. The Christian cross on the bad guy or raping the girl. The American flag in the lapel. It's a land of illusion. They're selling Santa Claus. And you're to believe it. We're walking down the street of no return along the boulevard of broken dreams. Hollywood is the, it is the cancer on the hemorrhoid of the ass of the whore of America.
Thank you very much.
I can't imagine that the Malthusian-minded men who operate from the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, are going to spare these people. I simply can't imagine it. They want to kill you. They want to control you. They want to use you. They want to abuse you. Kill, control, or incarcerate. That's the program. That's what they want. And they're going to get their way if you give in. 911, that's just the beginning. These people are history. They're going to go. I mean, that's the program. 8 out of 10. They want to reduce the population of the world by 80%. That means 4 out of 5 of these good people here would be eliminated. Can they do it? They can with your help. All you have to do is nothing. Simply nothing. And they'll do it. Christians, Muslims, Jews, all across America, that's the program. I mean, you've got to understand what this is all about. It's the land of make-believe. It's illusion and confusion. It's control. The managed media is owned by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, ABC, NBC, and CBS. It's becoming a police state. Patriot Act 2, it's right on the brink, and we're right on the edge of having police control every aspect of your life. Your television, what you see, what you eat, where you go, what you do. And here they come, America. It's already started in Britain. On every corner there's a camera.
CCTV cameras everywhere. They're on the London Underground, they're on buses, they're on every street. There are cameras to make sure that you don't cross a red light. There are cameras to make sure you don't go in bus lanes. Cameras everywhere. Every shop, every shopping centre. But people don't notice it anymore. I mean, George Orwell's prophecy of 1984 has come true.
They want you to have a national ID, a mark in the back of your hand, a biochip. Chaos is soon to come. The type of chaos we experienced with the World Trade Center, the type of murder, the type of massacre.